What's up, y'all? Um, so this is Deep Talk with T, episode one. So first of all, everything that I say is just my opinion based on my perspective and my experiences. If you have something that you would disagree with, feel free to comment, whatever. Um, so let's jump in. Let's jump right on into the first episode. Um, Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? To me, enlightenment is a continually unfolding experience. And for me, there was an anchor dropping moment. I feel like for everybody, there's an anchor dropping moment. I've heard about it from Eckhart Tolle, talk about his anchor dropping moment. I've heard and read about different people having moments of realization that were the beginnings of enlightenment for them. So, to take you back, I guess, and introduce you to myself and who I am if you don't know me, and even if you think you do. The way I see my trajectory through life at this point, there's a before and after enlightenment moment. I was 18 going on 19. I was a freshman in college, and I had been doing a lot of introspection and a lot of soul searching and a lot of like actual external research too into different religious questions that I had. I came up in the Christian faith. I was born and raised into a Christian household. My granny took me to church when we was little, and she passed when I was a freshman in high school, and my mom would start taking us, and that was the basic relationship that I had to religion. It was just going to church. It wasn't super extensive, being in like Sunday school and none of that. It was just a matter of showing up and giving praise and not really thinking too deeply about things. And I had a moment, not even a moment, I had a period of depression when I was in high school after my first little heartbreak. And it was probably, I was probably about 17, going through that whole little period of 17 was kind of rough for me. And then I had 18 and there was a shift. The girl who I was depressed over started dating a buddy of mine, yada, yada, yada. And there was something clicked at the time and helped me not be depressed anymore and not be hung up on her. And in that very moment of clicking, I went from being depressed about her to excited and feeling this sense of like ecstaticness. One, just because it was a transition out of the depression. I probably at the time looking back, I can say that I was probably just ecstatic to not be depressed anymore. But I was also, I had moments of questioning. Right, I started to transition into thinking about religion and thinking about the religion that I came up in, and things just started to not make sense to me. There were two moments that didn't really make sense to me. There were questions that I got asked in high school. Well, not even necessarily questions. One of them was a question and one of them was just a project. The question was, who are you? It was in a sociology class, and at the time I thought that was a stupid question. I was like, I'm Tyler, I'm a football player, I'm a son, I'm an athlete, I'm a yada, yada, yada. And the teacher of the class presented the idea that those are roles that you play. That's not who you are. If you stop playing football, do you cease to be a person? If you're not being a student at that time, do you yada, yada, yada. So, thought-provoking. Didn't jump to an answer. Couldn't jump to an answer, even though I did jump to an answer, and then the rug got pulled out from under me every time I jumped on one of those that wasn't sufficient. So then the other thing, the project was it was a project on congenital insensitivity. Congenital insensitivity is basically, not to get like into like act like I'm a doctor or anything like that, but the congenital means by birth, with like being born, basically. And insensitivity is the inability to feel touch. So this congenital insensitivity is the inability to feel touch from birth. These people don't know what physical pain feels like the way that normal people do, with whose senses work on that level. To some extent, they might be able to feel pressure, but the medical danger in this is that you can like get a third-degree burn and not know and not get treatment for it. You can get a gash on your face and have no idea that you need to get that stitched up and just bleed out because you don't feel the pain that is an indicator that something is wrong. So I took those questions and went as far as I could with them in answering them. If How do you make sense of a physical hell to someone in relation to religion too? How do you make sense of a physical hell to someone who can't feel touch? And how do you identify yourself with external roles that continually get taken away from you? If you, not continually get taken away from you, but you're not living, you don't cease to exist if you're not playing those roles. So I, again, just got deep into asking these questions, and it led to make a long story as short as I can, it led to, there started to be moments of synchronicity that strung together. And I wanted to take a yoga class my freshman year of college, and that was all filled. There was a techniques and stress reduction class that was not filled, though, that I could take. And I took it. And my moment of enlightenment happened in that class. It happened actually after class, as a result of talking to the teacher. And he would always, the guy always had, he was this little old white man, all his head full of white hair, thin white hair, smaller guy in stature. And I didn't really know anything about him outside of the fact that he taught this meditation class. And he would always, the way the structure of the class worked, he would always have like an allegory or something before teaching the meditation technique of the day. There was a meditation technique of the day, and then he would always have something before the meditation technique, and then we would come out of the meditation in a slow, controlled process, and then that would be the end of the class. And he always, the story that he told before the meditation technique of the day, a lot of times it had made reference to different religious figures, Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Confucius, but he wouldn't tie them to their particular religions. He just had something behind it. There was a reason why he was telling the story. And I always picked up on it, and everybody thought he was weird, but to me, he wasn't weird. And I got him. I felt like I got him. And so I asked him one day after class, what religion do you practice? And so these were where the floodgates opened for me. I asked him, what religion do you practice? Again, I came up in a Christian faith, and there are a lot of things about the Christian faith that I had questions about, namely heaven and hell and the nature of eternity and God, right? How people who, but let me not dive too deeply into that. I asked him what religion he practiced. He was very specific about all his words. He said, I practice with a metaphysical Christian group that makes reference to Jesus in the Bible, but does not claim him as the only path to God. And I thought that was very interesting. It immediately answered and threw out a lot of questions that I had already had about what happens to babies who don't get a chance to convert, or people who were born into different cultures and they believe just as fervently and they didn't have a chance to get exposed to the yada, yada, yada. All these, I kept getting, answers that weren't sufficient from me. They were bullshit in my mind. I dug deeper, though, and when he told me that he practiced with a metaphysical Christian group that made reference to Jesus but didn't claim him as the only path to God, I thought that was very novel and unique. And so I said, okay, what do you believe about heaven and hell? And this is where the floodgates open for me. This is the moment of enlightenment that flooded in, and that I continually, that was the rabbit hole that I've been down since. The rabbit hole of enlightenment. I asked him what he believed about heaven and hell, and he said, we believe that Jesus preached a heaven and hell in the here and now. And when he said here and now, I've never experienced life the same way since then. I understood not the tangible now, the stuff that you can see, but the fabric upon which all that rests, from the physical experiences that we have out here to the mental and emotional experiences that we have in here. There's a canvas upon which all that is laid. And that is the essential fabric that ties us all together. When people say namaste, the divine in me recognizes the divine in you, that's the divine they're talking about. The reason why all these different religions seem like they're talking about one God is because they are. Even in the polytheistic religions where there's multiple gods, there's an understanding that they're all different faces of the same thing. And if there's not that understanding, then it's a more primitive than evolved one, I'll say, because that, when you come to understand the true nature of reality, is the reality. Everything is tied together. The same consciousness that animates a bird is the same consciousness that animates me, is the same consciousness that animates you, is the same consciousness that gives rise to all of this and is imbued in all of this. And your ability to tap into it is innate within you because it is essentially what and who you are. And so that question about who are you, I am the perceiver of my experience. I am the canvas of consciousness upon which all stimuli and all phenomena are experienced. So that's Deep Talk with T, episode 1, y'all. We just opened the can of worms of enlightenment, and we will dive much deeper. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoy.